So I have watched Blade Runner, and straight up, no bullshit, the movie is great. I haven't had this much fun. I wasn't. The immersion in this film is incredible. I haven't felt this way since Mad Max, and woo, I've been craving for that Mad Max, Mwah. But anyway, I just want to say, visually, it's still it feels as if it never left. It picked up as if there wasn't time in between both of these films, and so it feels really great in that sense. It's visually appealing. Now, what's great about Blade Runner 2048 is that we get to move outside of LA. They take us to San Diego, and I don't know if it's a joke, but San Diego is treated as a dumping grounds for LA, so maybe it's a little California stab joke, little joking there. Not only that, we even get to move beyond California. We go to Las Vegas, and in Las Vegas, it seems like it's been a bit of a nuclear wasteland because of the high radiation that they described in the film. Not only that, it was just pretty much a desert storm out there, very inhabitable, and it's just beautiful from one piece to the next, and it's usually pretty goddamn difficult to say make the junkyard of San Diego very appealing, or just bland desert of Las Vegas just trapped and buried in the sand. No, it was still pretty fine. If there are some things that I can't spoil, it's definitely that I cannot spoil any visuals. Like, woo! Now, one of the great things about Blade Runner 2048 is the idea of a synthetic falling in love with an AI. A replicant falling in love with the AI. That's something that never has dawned on me. That's something that I believe has never been fully achieved in any sci-fi genre. I've never seen it before, and so for it being portrayed in this film is pretty intense. It just blew my mind about the philosophy behind it, of what it means to be human, and how can two synthetic things have such human emotion. I was really digging that aspect of the story, to say the least. It was incredible how this replicant, Ryan Gosling, he and it's not a spoiler. You know it straight off the bat. No, don't worry, it's not spoiled. The movie says to you, Ryan Gosling is a replicant, so no bitching, no fussing. But anyway, the point about a replicant falling in love with an AI is that the AI is so immersive that they're able to adapt to the weather. Here's an example. Here's what actually happens in the scene. Gosling is able to take her outside in the pouring rain, and so the raindrops trickle down past her, kind of giving a little glitch every once in a while. And so it takes a few seconds for the AI to build an image of the rain hitting her. So now every time it hits her, it just boop. It has this fake water just hitting her, and then starts slowly building up until she's wet. she looks wet, but in reality she's not. And so it creates such a real emotion because she believes that she's real. You know what? That that love story within itself, I would have been fine. I would have been fine with it. An AI wants to be real enough for a replicant, which is a synthetic human being, something that isn't real, that isn't human. These two fake things want to be real for each other, but in reality they actually are because they're able to display some type of emotions. They have some reaction to whatever the other one is doing, and that for me really hits me in the heart. It, I I would have been completely happy if they just did that. So now that I've talked about the romantic subplot, I'm going to talk about the meat of this. And so there might be some major minor spoilers flying out of my mouth. I'm gonna try to still keep it under wraps because the main point of Blade Runner and this type of genre of film is that it's a mystery. It's more for the audience to unravel as the film progresses. So whether or not you've seen this film before this review or you're watching it afterwards, just bear that in mind. I don't have a button to stop myself. Years later, there's been a great starvation going on. A lot of the organic stuff is kind of dying off. There's hardly any trees and whatnot. Therefore, it's kind of difficult to grow things, and so everything out there is pretty much synthetic. The replicants are still being treated as slaves, but this time instead of on Mars, it's here on Earth. There's been a whole new discovery that the replicants might actually be able to procreate. Ryan Gosling has to basically figure out who this child is because the police department, or the police chief actually doesn't want this to be public knowledge and wants to keep it on the wraps. The whole we got to keep things in order. If this abomination of nature is loose and this knowledge is out, then society will crumble. So now everyone's acting performance is on par, just mwah, mwah. There's 2 cameos in here that kind of just took me by surprise. One is definitely the very first 10 minutes of the film. It threw me off, and I was pretty much sold on it. I was like, sure. The other one comes later on when the film takes place in San Diego, the junkyard, and that one was pretty nice. That was a nice cameo, but I would definitely say overall the performance in everyone, it's very subtle, very not necessarily quiet, just reserved. So when you set that bar of having very subtle performances, when you switch gears into an outburst of emotion, any emotion, it really creates such high stakes. It really intensifies more than if you just kind of just go crazy all the time. It definitely reserved itself in order to deliver that punch. So for those who have seen the original Blade Runner, this is where I'm going to kind of compare some of the minor differences about how I felt throughout each film. Now, I had never grown up watching the original Blade Runner. In fact, I've watched it over the summer and kind of it's not as well praised as I think that some folks give it. To me, it just felt too daunting, too long, very dark. it was very difficult to distinguish things here and there, and I don't know. For me, it was a bit hard to follow the original plot for Blade Runner. That's where kind of draws the line for me when compared the original to the sequel. And going into the sequel, I was kind of curious what they were gonna do with Deckard, with Harrison Ford. In the back of my mind, I was just thinking, okay, when are we gonna see Harrison Ford? That kept popping in every once in a while because the marketing sold them as, hey, Harrison Ford is in it. Let's go see the movie. Thankfully, it didn't turn out that way. He actually came in during the third act and was not necessarily rarely there, but I would say he had enough screen time to not be overbearing. The way he's tied into the main plot is really good. Unfortunately, I don't want to spoil it because it's fantastic. The way it all comes together. It's a nice little mystery package. Mwah! It has that little niche of a noir film, of this old dog who's just very tired and is basically willing to survive, but also not caring enough to die as well. So that's it, folks. That's pretty much all I had to say. I want to say thank you, and don't forget to like and share this video. Not only that, watch the damn movie.